Today's lesson is lesson 9.4, solving surface area problems. When you think of surface area, the best way to think of it is in terms of paint. If you were asked to paint a certain type of three-dimensional object, the amount of paint that you paint around the object would be the surface area. It's a nice description here of this item. If it was flattened, sometimes you'll see like a box before it's put together. Those are the different sides which you then have to combine, and you'll see that a prism has 6 different sides or 6 different faces to it. And so you would find the area of every prism, which would be the length times the width, or its base times its height, and then you would add it 6 times in order to get it. And so you'll see that here. GoMath does a good job of breaking that down. You have to, the different pairs of sides, the front and back go together, the 2 different sides go together, and then the 2 bases go together. So you're basically finding those and doubling them, and that's used to find the areas of the 6 faces to add. What you do have is a formula. To be honest with you, I've never seen this formula until planning and preparing this lesson, but it's a good one. It definitely works, and that is now surface area. So SA equals the perimeter of the base times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. And so I'm just going to notate a little a there. And what that means, again, is once you find the perimeter, the distance around, you would then find the height. So it's going to give you that going all the way down, right? If that's like, a 3-dimensional elevator there. So you have that flat base going all the way down. So that's the surface area. And then you have to add in, of course, the 2 bases there. So let's give it a try. So do we have perimeter of the base? I'm going to rewrite the base here so you can see it. And then hopefully you guys will get used to kind of doing this. The perimeter, of course, is both of those sides. But if I can just add 2 of them together, and then I double it, it's a lot easier than adding 4 numbers. And so it would be 15 plus 8 times 2, which is 23 times 2, which is 46. If you can't see that, add the 2 together, right? You have 15 plus 15 is 30 plus 16. Also get you 46. And so you're going to multiply it now times the height. And I erase that over there. And that looks like that is 20. So I'm going to multiply now, since I have that 0 as a placeholder. That helps. Only have to do 1 row of work. I have 920 now is my first sum. And now I'm going to multiply the area of my base. What's my base again? 15 times 8. And that is 120 times 2. So that's 240. Now I add that to my first sum and do it underneath here. And I have 1160 millimeters squared. So that's how you use the formula. You can see it's a lot better than finding 6 different prisms of area and then adding them together, and it does come to be helpful. When you guys are doing your work and it's gotten much better for your classwork, your homework, whatever you want to call it, make sure that you guys are showing these 2 steps here. If you don't have to show every little thing unless you want to. Some of you guys have been doing that, and it really helps me note if you guys are making a simple mistake so I don't have to take off points for all of it. Alright, so that's been very helpful for if this was a homework problem, just add these 2 together and show your answer there. Alright, so here's another example. Aaron is making a jewelry box of wood. We have our dimensions there, so let's use our formula again. So I'm going to rewrite it there so it's a little bit bigger. Alright, so perimeter of the base, we have 15 going across, and then 12 going this way. So 2 15s, 2 12s. Hopefully you guys can kind of do mental math here. That's 30 plus 24, so that's 54. And now our height is 6, right? So 54 times 6 is 324 is the piece, our first piece. And now we're going to find the area of our base, 15 times 12. I'm going to do that over here. So we have 30, 15, 180. And now we're going to times that by 2. All right, so 18 times 2. Hopefully you guys can do that in your head. That's 360. All right, 36 with the 0 at the end. So we have 360 there. And now I add the 2 together, and I get 684. What's my unit? Square inches. So that's how you use the formula, and the more you use it, the easier it gets. Let's take a look at this one here. So we have a box of spaghetti. that comes in that following shape. One more example, let's use the formula. I'll give you guys a second to do it on your own. So if you need to, draw that spaghetti base. And then the height I'm just going to write over here. Alright, so let's find the perimeter. Alright, so that's doubling what is there, right? So add the two together. That's 11 times 2 is 22. What's our height? Times 1.5, right? So that decimal is going to make it a little messy there, but we'll take care of that. So we have 33. Be sure you guys are using that decimal strategy you learned in the past, right? So we're adding 33. So that is our first part. Perimeter times height was 22 times 1.5. Now we're going to find the area of our base. What is the area of our base? 9 times 2 is 18. We're going to times it by 2. That equals 36 plus the 33 that we did from perimeter times height. And our answer is 69. What is my unit? Square inches. All right, let's take a look here. This is another type of problem that you're going to be seeing. You're going to be seeing objects such as this, where you have two different prisms. You have the rectangular prism, and then you have a triangular prism. And so for the perimeter and for the area of the base, you're going to have to find for the perimeter, of course, is the sides going there. And then when you're finding the area of the base, we have that triangular formula where we have that right angle, and then that line that comes down that cuts the hypotenuse there in half. That is known as the height. So you got to make sure you're using that accordingly. And so you would have to do this basically 2 times. So you can see how laborious these problems are becoming now, because you have to use the formula twice. And once you do that, you'll get your answer. And then this is a little bit more advanced problem here that you guys will see in the years to come, is they are going to give you, most likely the diameter of a measurement of that circle, and then they're going to ask you what the total area of this shape is, and you would have to subtract out the area of the circle. So that's what's coming down the line. And all the different steps are there. If you want to take the time to look how to do that for purposes of our mini lesson here, we'll just say once again, you find the surface area of the bottom, then you find the surface area of the top, then you add the two together. All right, so let's take a look here. This is an interesting one, because if we are painting the plant stand, all right, you would notice that there's going to be paint on everything except for the bottom of the top prism, which is a cube. All right, so you're going to not paint that bottom face, and then you would not also paint that bottom, or that face that would be in the middle of this cube prism. And so you're basically subtracting out that area, all right, and that would be what, 8 times 8, so that's 64. So that would be 64 square inches, and you're not going to paint it 2 times. You're not going to paint it for the top, and you're not going to paint it for the bottom. And so you'll see that in a future example here, is that you would not paint this 2 different times. And so once you find the surface area of the top prism and the bottom prism, you add those two together, then you have to subtract 128 out, because of the way that they're attached. You cannot paint 128 square inches there. So it's a little bit more advanced, but that's how they're going to try to trick you guys on a standardized test in the future, is most students would just find the surface area of both of the cubes and then add them together and not subtract that out. And this is the very important piece to that. All right, so let's do one with the triangle, and then we'll move on to our independent practice. All right, so I'm going to rewrite the formula. All right, so again, it's the perimeter of the base times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. All right, so let's use that. Let's find the perimeter of our base. We have a triangle now. All right, so we have the 2 up here, right, and then we can use the matching sides there. So 5 plus 5 plus 8. Hopefully mental math for you guys, right? 10 plus 8 is 18. What is my height now? My height is 7. So I times it. 6, 1, carry the 5 in case you guys don't see that. 126 is my first number. And now I'm going to find the area of my base. And this is that right triangle that I was telling you guys before, right? So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So the area of my base is 8, and now the height of my triangle is 3. Alright, so that's 24. Now I need to take 1/2 of that. So 1/2 of 24 is 12. Alright, and now I have to times it by 2. And so that's 24. I add that to what I have, and I get 150 square feet is my surface area. All right, and then lastly, here's another one of those examples that we were looking at before. So if you had to find the surface area here, but you find the surface area of the small cube up above, you find the surface area of the rectangular prism, and now we have the double surface base that you wouldn't be painting because it's on the bottom of the smaller, and then it's on the middle of the bigger prism, and so you would subtract that out 2 times that piece, which is 2.5 times 2, and you'll see that there. And so that's exactly what we were saying. It's the cube first, the prism, and then you subtract out those 2 little faces, and then you're going to get your answers. All right, so here's your homework. All right, make sure that you guys don't get tricked when they're talking about the different parts again here. All right, so it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different, 7 different calculations. All right, so make sure that you're cutting them accordingly there. Just answer 2 different ways to do that there, and you guys should be good to go. Any questions, let me know.